Joel Embiid is out for the remainder of the season. Matthew Stafford has a new deal with the Rams. We're also talking about the surging Golden State Warriors. Does Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green have that team as legit title contenders now? We're also talking about the Lakers. Anthony Edwards gets suspended. And then Travis Hunter makes some very bold claims about his status and his comments about Shohei Ohtani. That's coming up next on a jam-packed episode of The Big Lead. What is up, and welcome to another episode of The Big Lead, the hottest stories in sports in less than an hour. Everything you need to know about the world of the NBA, the NFL, baseball, hockey. If you're talking about in the world of sports, we're talking about it right here. My name is Doug McCain, credentialed member of the media. I've been covering sports for over a decade. Bleacher Report 24/7, Locked On Rams, Dodgers Nation, do NFL radio for Westwood One. Joined always by my man J-Rob. You know him from Player's Choice, a D1 football player, which gives him more credibility to defend Travis Hunter later, I'm guessing. My man Noel Sanchez, we call him Young Lotto because he's young and he'd be a lottery pick. I mean, that's just the deal. So shout out to Noel Sanchez and the rest of the gang. But we've got a jam-packed show. A lot of late breaking news today here on The Big Lead to get into. And we are going to start with Joel Embiid. What we feared, what NBA fans and 76ers fans feared, well, it came today. Well, that is Joel Embiid is out for the remainder of the season. Last season, Joel Embiid played in just 39 games. This year, he's played in just 19 games, 39 of the 76ers' 50 games so far. The team has a 20-38 record. The numbers have been down all season for him. It was his lowest scoring output since 2017, averaging 23.8 points per game, just 8.2 rebounds. It just has not been there. A 29.9% effective field goal percentage. Just the win shares at 1.5. He's injured. The numbers haven't looked good. And now he is going to be on the shelf for the remainder of the season. Now, the 76ers' chances of making the play-in game were bleak and making a run in the playoffs were bleak. You went out there and you signed Paul George in the offseason. You thought that a big three with Maxey and George and Joel Embiid, hey, on paper, that's not bad. That's pretty decent. But you need your MVP on the floor to have a legitimate chance. And I think at this point, it's sad. That's just the bottom line. It's not like Joel Embiid wants to be injured. He wants to be out there. He lost weight. He lost significant weight to give himself a chance. And before 76ers fans yell and say, oh, he should have been in the Olympics. Oh, he came back too early to play in that Knicks series last year. Oh, he should have gotten the surgery earlier. What surgery? There is no surgery, no medicine that regrows or replaces cartilage for a 300-pound dude. That's just not how it works. Yes, they might explore some treatments and they sound downright barbaric. Things like cartilage replacement, breaking your hip just to help your knees. Who wants to go through that? He was having to get injections just to be able to play in games this season. But I think at this point, it's safe to say that the process has failed, and it's not his fault. When he was on the court, he literally was the most valuable player, a top 5 player in the league, someone who past that was winning over fans in Philly, which is not easy to do. He epitomized that city and the way you go about and the way he played, how hard he played. This is nothing against his game. We know how talented Joel Embiid is when he plays. Unfortunately, his body is failing him. And at this point, I think, look, you look at where the contract is. They signed him to a new deal. They signed him to a deal where it was a 2-year extension with a player option for a third year in 28 and 29 this past summer. his contract is immovable this summer. You're not going to be able to do that. Even if you wanted to rebuild around Maxey and Jared McCain, you can't move his contract. But unfortunately, it looks like this car has been totaled. It really does at this point for Joel Embiid. And it hurts me to say that because I love the dude out of the Cameroon. I was hoping that he would put together a long, healthy career and compete for championships, but the knee just isn't there. And I think if you can salvage anything out of this, you're going to feel good about it. It's almost like a much, 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 much better version of what Andrew Bynum was, right? He actually did realize his potential, won an MVP. It's not like he's Greg Oden or anything like that. No, he's an all-star. He's 30. He did play a long time. But unfortunately, like I said, the car looks like it is totaled. And I think now, if you're the 76ers, instead of playing basketball games for the rest of the season, trying to compete for the playoffs, I think you try to play a game of capture the flag. How do you get Cooper Flag with the 76ers? At this point, that's the only way to get yourself in a position to turn the page towards the future, to kind of get past what is a terrible contract in Paul George, a contract with Embiid that looks like it's not going to bear any championship fruit. And that has to be the number one priority. How do you secure the highest draft pick? How do you maintain that draft pick? And heading into Wednesday's game against the Knicks, they had a position to really sustain where they're at. I mean, they're 12th in the Eastern Conference. They're behind the Brooklyn Nets and the Chicago Bulls. They're in front of just the Toronto Raptors, the Charlotte Hornets, and the Washington Wizards. And according to Tankathon, the 76ers have a 37% shot of landing a top 4 pick in the draft. Their chance of winning the lottery are currently placed at 9%, with the Hornets, Wizards, and Utah Jazz though I have the best chances at 14% at the moment. So look, the more you lose, the more chances that you have, the higher your chances of getting Cooper Flag, of getting a higher draft pick. And that is the number one priority at this point. You got to, keep that pick, which right now they do have a 46% chance of keeping their pick, but you got to keep the pick and you want to get a higher pick. But at this point, I think if you're the 76ers, if you're basing your future around Joel Embiid, then you're spinning your wheels. You have to move on. You have to regroup, and you have to just take this loss for what it is. The process has failed. His body has failed him. But J-Rob, you hate to see this. The worst thing in sports is injuries. The worst thing in sports is injuries to players that you know are great. It's not like he's someone who came out of high school or college and never made it. The dude made it. Yeah. His body's just failing him.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, this is a guy who won an MVP, so you know where he is at his apex. If I'm a Philadelphia fan, I'm kind of glad this is happening, though, because this puts you in a situation where if you can get a top 3 pick, I am really bullish on this draft from a standpoint of I think the guys at the top, the first 5, all have the ability to be franchise-changing level players. And what I like about it is with Embiid being out to repair this knee, if I'm the front office, I'm not rushing him back because I'm being optimistic, and I have either Cooper Flag or Dylan Harper Jr., because those are, to me, consensus 1 and 2, however you shake it, or even an Ace Bailey. I will use that time with Joel Embiid getting healthy to develop those guys, because I think when Joel comes back, I don't think he's going to be the same number 1 option, but I do feel like he can be a part of a nucleus, even though he'll be past his prime, because even a 75% Embiid, whether I want to admit this or not, is better than most bigs in the NBA. Even him on a bad knee this year is better than a majority of the centers and bigs in the National Basketball Association. So when I look at that and the culmination of all those things, I don't know what's his value to other teams across the league, especially with his injury history. So if I am the front office, how am I going to really get the most out of this situation? Like maximize this to the best of my ability? Because I do agree. I think the process is over. So you have to try to pivot, but you still have Joel, and he can be a factor, maybe just not as that number 1 guy anymore.
Yeah, I think that that's the most rational approach to this. I mean, look, I think that's a fantastic point in the sense that, yeah, I mean, I'm saying that the car has been totaled. The truth is you probably got to salvage that car in some capacity, right? I think he's not Greg Oden, right? I mean, people saying he's Greg Oden or anything like that. Of course he's not that. I mean, Greg Oden was drafted when he was 65 years old, right? Greg Oden, he had worse knees than my grandpa. My grandpa's been dead for like 10 years, right? I mean, it's not like that, okay? If you can get any, and the thing is they have no choice too. From a financial standpoint, there's nowhere to go with that contract. He's beloved in the city. And you just feel bad for the guy. You just see the body language, the way he looks. But the sad thing to me in all this is that, look, there was a time when we thought we were going to talk about Joel Embiid with the Shaqs, the Duncans, the Kareems, I mean, the Wilts, the great bigs in the history of the game. Now it feels like we're going to be talking about him with the Yao Mings, the Brandon Roys, guys like that. Greg Oden's not necessarily, of course, he accomplished more than that. I think that the comp really is Bill Walton, in that Bill Walton actually won a championship and had success, and then the career just kind of fell apart. But Noel, it's a sad situation. I know that you are someone that kind of goes to the deeper meanings of the stories. With this, it feels like just a story that you hope they can have a happy ending, but it's not going to be anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at the NBA, he's definitely one of the most unluckiest players that I've ever seen in my time watching basketball. His career started off and he was labeled as someone that couldn't stay healthy, that just couldn't get the nucleus of actually being a big man in the NBA that could play 60, 70, 80 games. And he was able to become that. He was able to not only transcend the position, but also stay healthy and long enough on the court to make an amazing impact. And then he has teammates like Ben Simmons, James Harden, that don't really stick around in the postseason, don't stick around for multiple seasons. And he was there in the heart of Philadelphia, one of the most crucial, one of the most contradictory, one of the most hardest sports fan bases to play in front of. And he really embraced what it meant to be a superstar in that city. And just seeing how it's all playing out right now, it's really sad because he was up there with Paul George on that sports broadcast saying, hey, like, you know, we need you over in Philly. He recruited him heavily. He got him. Paul George hasn't been the same guy. Joel Embiid, the knees are breaking down once again. I hate to see it because, Doug, you know I'm a big DeMarcus Cousins fan, and I feel like Joel Embiid, Boogie, you know Joel Embiid really took that skill set that Boogie had and just showed what he could do.
It's getting ridiculous. It's getting ridiculous.
That's how it feels right now to me. For real.
It's getting ridiculous. But ridiculous. Like, so I'll close our eyes, though. Think of Cooper Flagg. What jersey can you think of him in? Dude, I can think of him in a Sixers jersey. Yeah. The Duke blue, the red. Yeah. I think from a league standpoint, I am sick of seeing big stars in small markets. Yeah. Nothing against San Antonio, nothing against Oklahoma City. Sure, they're great cities. I like my superstars in big markets. And Cooper Flagg with the 76ers kind of just hits, right? I think you look at, too, just kind of, if you're a 76ers fan, I know you're probably having a bad day. I mean, call all your 76ers friends today. I mean, give them a hug. They're fine, but they're just going through it today because JoJo's out for the rest of the season. Well, if you look at the reformed lottery odds, the reformed lottery odds, look, they're in a pretty, like you said, I mean, you don't want this to happen, but the fact that they're getting some clarity right now towards the end of the season, look, Maxey and PG better either be not playing on a minutes restriction at this point, right? Because if you look at it, the three worst teams in the league all have a 14% chance of the number one pick. The team with the fourth worst record has a 12.5% chance of the first pick. And the team with the fifth worst record has a 10.5% chance. So, I mean, you just get in that mix and you just never know. Adam Silver, you know, kind of works his magic, gets his David Stern on, and all of a sudden they capture the flag and you get Cooper Flagg. But okay, guys, I got my starting five right here. Doing my starting five. Five best NBA players that their careers were derailed by injuries. You guys, let me get your takes. Okay, starting at point guard, Penny Hardaway. Penny Hardaway was talked about as the next generation's Magic Johnson. He made 3 straight All-Star games. In 1998, it looked like he was going to be that future All-NBA guy for 5-6 years, just an absolute Hall of Fame career, maybe even face of the league-ish, at least if that Magic team could go on to win multiple titles. He was 26 years old. He was in the midst of his absolute prime. You look at sneaker sales in the 90s, there was a time when it was Penny, Jordan, Sean Kemp. Pennies were the wave. he was marketable. He had Chris Rock in his commercials. Penny Hardaway was one of the smoothest players in the league. And unfortunately, a knee injury derailed him. I was considering Derrick Rose for this spot, though. I think Derrick Rose, Penny had a long stretch. Derrick Rose, the peak athleticism. I still think that if I had given you a magic 15 years of perfect health, I think the 6'7" Penny Hardaway gets the nod over Derrick Rose. But what does Derrick Rose have, though? Derrick Rose is MVP. So that's my point guard. What do you think?
I mean, no, super close. I think Derrick Rose, at the age he got hurt and the age that we saw him first coming onto the scene, it was just crazy. It's like you got like the super explosive bottle, and then just like that, they took it away from you. Like, no, it was just a small taste. But I mean, I love the Penny take though. Penny, he had the marketability, he had the flavor, he had the swag. We saw what Magic Johnson did in the 80s. Penny Hardaway kind of took that and brought his own sauce. And like you said, at that height, 6'7", had a really good name too.
Two first-team All-NBAs.
Two first-team All-NBAs. If him and Shaq had been able to stay together and the Orlando Magic didn't just completely screw Shaq, throw up those billboards.
Have you seen that meme? The one where it's like, hey, go ask your man what prime Derrick Rose was like.
Yeah,
you know,
yes.
And they get all emotional, like, oh, you just had to be there. I mean, the explosion. Yeah, that was a close one. I really like. I mean, Penny.
Or it's like the meme where like you're sleeping next to your wife and she's like, oh, he's thinking about other women, but it's like, no, I'm thinking about what if Penny.
What if Penny had stayed healthy? Totally agree. Shooting guard. You guys know I love my NBA history, so I had to go with Bernard King. I don't think people realize how good Bernard King was. New York legend. My man's averaged 32.9 points per game. Unfortunately, a knee injury derailed him. He was out for almost 2 seasons. If it weren't for the knee injuries, he's someone that would have put up massive numbers at the shooting guard spot. Bernard King was an absolute legend, especially in New York. Brandon Roy was another guy considered, though. What do you think, J-Rob?
Yeah, I didn't think you were going to pull out the Bernard King.
Bernard
I
King's
was going to say Grant Hill or like Tracy McGrady.
I got Grant Hill on this list. Bernard King was my granddad's like favorite player, by the way. So that's why.
Bernard King, if you know, like, Bernard King could have helped the Knicks win a championship. I think him getting hurt really is one of like those Knicks curses as to like why we never won a championship. I think the average casual NBA fan does not realize how great Bernard King was at his apex. He was literally who I was thinking in my brain. Like my number one guy was Bernard King. So
another guy, multiple first team All-NBAs. Yeah. Next guy is Grant Hill. Grant Hill. These guys, Bernard King, Penny, maybe face of the league. Grant Hill could have been that face of the league after Jordan, before the three-peat with Kobe and Shaq. Grant Hill had all the tools. He had the defense. He had the size. He had the charisma out there in the court. He was smooth in his game. He could shoot. He could get to the hole. Grant Hill was a dog coming out of Duke, had the shoe deal with Fila, and just had one of the worst ankle injuries over an extended period of time the league has ever seen. He played just 47 games and over a span of 4 seasons. He also had an MRSA infection that led to more games lost, and that was in the middle of his prime years. It was the middle of his prime years, and he's someone that that was going to be the guy. It was going to be Jordan passing the torch to Grant Hill with the Detroit Pistons, and he did kind of get his career back together. You saw the years he had. I mean, he helped Phoenix, and he did get back on the court, but he was never the same guy. And then the next name we talked about earlier, Bill Walton. Bill Walton, unfortunately, the injuries derailed what would have been maybe a top 20 player of all-time career. He's widely considered to be right behind Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as the best college player in the history with the titles that he won at UCLA. But the good thing for him is Bill Walton did win an NBA championship. He also won an MVP in 1976. So you saw a 76 championship, the MVP in 78, but it was 4 years of grueling back injuries where he played just 14 games in a span of 4 years. So that's tough. He did come back. He won Sixth Man of the Year with the Celtics, but he's another one. And then this next one at center, this to me is the most fitting comparison really to Joel Embiid, and that is that Yao Ming. Yao Ming is a big man, 7'6". The matchups between him and Shaquille O'Neal, you had some of the biggest battles on the court. He made 7 straight All-Star teams. He put up 25 and 10 at his peak. He still made the Hall of Fame, but by 28, he was a shell of himself. He couldn't stay on the court. The foot injuries derailed him. So, yeah, I mean, you got Bill Walton, Yao Ming, Grant Hill, Bernard King, Penny Hardaway. I think some of the honorable mentions. You got Derrick Rose. I think Derrick Rose did have a nice little comeback, though. I mean, he was serviceable. It's not like he was like completely out of the game. Any other names that kind of come to mind?
I will say that even though this guy won multiple titles and he's regarded as one of the best wings of the 2000s, I'm going to go with Kawhi Leonard. Just because I think the complete second half of his prime, he's had it taken away from him because of his injuries. And I mean, the man's won a title with multiple franchises. He could have done it with 3 different if he had been able to stay healthy. I think that 2021 season could have got really interesting if he was able to play in that Western Conference Finals, the only one that the Clippers made. But definitely Kawhi Leonard, man. I think both sides of the floor, we haven't really seen something like him in a while.
So I got 2 names. One, I'm going to say Len Bias, drafted in 1986 out of Maryland, died of a pretty much cocaine overdose. And man, coming out of Maryland, we might be having different conversations about him. But actually, you know who I have? Magic Johnson. I know that sounds crazy, but after, him getting HIV and having to take some time away from the NBA, Magic Johnson could have been really in that GOAT conversation if he had to never take time away from basketball. I mean, his trajectory was kind of like how we talk about Mahomes' trajectory right now. Like, he was successful from the moment he touched the NBA. And obviously he had an illustrious first ballot Hall of Fame career. So to attribute to how great of a player he was, but into the GOAT conversation, I think if he would have played a consistent NBA career, we might be talking about him in more than just being the greatest point guard to ever play the game.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point. I think especially hits home here in Los Angeles. I mean, you look at a career that was cut short at the age of 31, right? I mean, imagine just a couple more prime years to add to those assist totals. I think the cool thing about Magic Johnson, he does have the record, 11.2 assists per game. No one's had more assists per game on average. And I think just the eye test too, highlight tape is up there with the best of them. There's no doubt about it. He's the best point guard in the history of the game. Could he be in the GOAT conversation? I mean, if you want to, that Lakers team, where they were set up, I mean, they lost to Jordan, the Bulls, kind of at the tail end of the transition with the Showtime era. But yeah, no, I mean, you have to mention that. I mean, this is a guy who missed 4 or 5 years due to that. And yeah, it's definitely worth mentioning. But next, we're going to switch gears to Matthew Stafford. We'll get back to the association a little bit. The second biggest lead today is Matthew Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams have agreed to a new contract that will keep the Super Bowl winning quarterback in Los Angeles. And it's been a wild last couple of weeks for Matthew Stafford and the Rams. Rumors of being in Montana and skiing with Tom Brady and the Raiders recruiting him. And I was hearing yesterday that, one, if he was going to be traded, it was going to be 100% the Las Vegas Raiders. And 2, that it was going to come down to a meeting that they had today. Today, the Rams met with Matthew Stafford, Sean McVay, Les Snead, Stafford, all met with his agent, Jimmy Sexton. And at the end of the day, Matthew Stafford took less money to be back with the Rams. He could have gotten paid more, $55 million per season with the Raiders or the Giants, but those situations are unknowns. The Raiders, yes, you have $100 million in cap space. Yes, you're playing indoors. Pete Carroll, Chip Kelly, Tom Brady, all that sounds nice. Have some top-end talent. The Raiders have been irrelevant for a long time. The Giants, you don't want to enter a rebuild with the Giants. So I think it was a smart move by Matthew Stafford. If his number one priority was competing for another Super Bowl title, the Rams were the best situation for him. And I think if you are the Rams, yes, it is a little bit of a risk in the sense that you're bringing back a 37-year-old quarterback and you're going to pay him over $50 million per year. Sure. But at the end of the day, the chances of finding another quarterback and putting him around this group with a lot of young talent and expecting to compete for a Super Bowl this season are unlikely. Aaron Rodgers at 41 is not as good of a quarterback as Matthew Stafford at 37. Aaron Rodgers comes with the baggage, the darkness retreats, the complaints, the issues in the locker room, and just the skill set too. I mean, he just isn't the same quarterback that he was. So I think if you're the Rams, this was absolutely 100% the right move. And if you are Matthew Stafford, you just went through the process and now you know how it was. Now you know how it is to be with this organization. You went out there, you guys had a little, you didn't get a divorce, but you were like separated a little bit. And she was like, you can see some other people, and then he went to see those other people and he realized like, man, I kind of miss her. Right. I kind of miss her. Right. And that's what he did. He came back to the Rams and they figured some things out. And yeah, I think this is 100% the right move for both parties. What do you think, J-Rob?
Yeah, easily. You're not going to find a quarterback to replace him that's better than him. Shout out to Sam Darnold. I love him to death. Had the opportunity to interview him. Great guy. He's not a better quarterback at this juncture than Matthew Stafford, and neither is Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson. So for everybody involved, if Sean McVay's plan is for them to still continue to win now, because again, play away from an NFC championship, you re-sign your quarterback and you put an offensive line around him. Because to be honest, Doug, they're going to be better next year than they are this year because that young defense that, to me, is going to be top 5 in the NFL. I'm calling it right now. That defense is going to be a top 5 defense next year in the NFL, one of the best young offensive line the league has to offer. And then obviously on the offensive end, I'm still calling Devontae Adams. I know this package deal thing with Aaron Rodgers, but why couldn't you see Devontae Adams match with Puka Nacua here? You get that whole situation sorted out. The Rams are cooking with Crisco, as we say in the hood. So I feel like if I'm ultimately the Rams, this was the right decision for Matthew Stafford. This was the right decision. And I think everybody's happy, just a little bit of marriage counseling. That's all you need. A little bit of marriage counseling.
There it is. Yeah, absolutely. All. You know how it is. I think with Matthew Stafford too, he puts the Rams in a good position where you don't have to find that next quarterback now. You can go about it a little bit more organically. You don't have to force yourself into a situation. And yes, look, trust me, J-Rob, I know all about it, man. Interviewer's bias. When I started interviewing players, he talked to me for 2 seconds. I'd defend that guy to the death. You've seen that meme where it's the long phone and it's like, which athlete will you defend like that? That was me to every player I interviewed. So I understand you with Sam Darnold, but at the end of the day, Sam Darnold wouldn't give the Rams a better chance of winning than Matthew Stafford. Aaron Rodgers wouldn't. Jimmy Garoppolo certainly 100% wouldn't, right? Justin Fields, right coach, right situation. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, same.
I'm intrigued. Same. I think you might get stretches where you feel good about it, but this is Matthew Stafford, a future Hall of Famer we're talking about. And I think too, look, it puts them in a good spot where they could draft a quarterback in the later rounds, but they don't need him to come in right away. He can develop. And then, you're probably not going to be in a position to get Arch Manning in 2026, but you are going to be able to have a couple of years with Stafford. And you mentioned that defense. That is the number one thing for me. This is the number one reason why I think the Rams were wise to bring him back. Because if that defense was cooked, they didn't hit on those draft picks, I would say, look, man, having just one great player on a bad team is not going to do you anything. Might as well just get the assets for him. But what the Rams can do is the reverse of what's been the logic, the prevailing wisdom in the National Football League for the last decade. And that is that if you draft your rookie quarterback and you hit on him, that means you can spend that money on players around them. You can get the premier edge, the premier corner, the premier wide receiver, maybe spend on a running back. The Rams, they don't have to do that. You spend on the quarterback because you hit on Jared Verse. You hit on Kobe Turner. And you found Puka Nacua wasn't just their 5th round pick. He was their 4th pick in the 5th round. Yeah. Makes no sense, man.
You hit on Braden Fisk.
Fisk.
What's my the DB? I think it was Curly. I can't think of his last name right now.
Kobe Durant.
Yeah, Kobe Durant.
Yeah, Kobe Durant out of South Carolina. He's continuing to work. That's a great point in that it's not just rookie talent. It's like their 2nd, 3rd year guys.
They're so young.
And look, here's the thing. What it's going to come down to for the Rams is this. Can you hit on free agency? Because you whipped on free agency last offseason. Jonah Jackson, they gave him $51 million. They've allowed him to seek a trade. Colby Parkinson, he was awful. So the funny thing about the Rams right now is they're hitting on the draft, but they're absolutely whiffing in free agency. But that's what's going to come down to. But we got some breaking news, buddy. Okay. But let's switch gears. Let's hit the face of the league topic. Okay? Because yesterday, the Lakers just continue to look impressive. Let's call it what it is. Outside of the Celtics and the Cavs and the Thunder, the Lakers are right in that mix of teams that have a chance to win. LeBron James, he's been absolutely re-energized, drinking vampire's blood. I don't know what the heck he's doing, but this guy just, every time Father of Time rolls up, he elbows him in the face and just has another 30, 10, and 8 game. Last night, LBJ, 33 points, 17 rebounds, 6 assists. Last 8 games for LBJ. The King averaging 28.5 points per game on 56% shooting, 47% from beyond the arc, 9.3 boards, and 6.9 assists. But it was LeBron's comments after the game that sparked some conversation today, and that was his comments about Anthony Edwards not wanting to embrace being the future face of the league. Here, give a listen.
I mean, it's unfortunate, but like, I don't know. Why do you want to be the face of a league when all the people that that cover our game and talk about our game on a day-to-day basis on everybody? I mean, that responsibility, it's just weird. It's weird energy from the people that, I don't know. But Channing, he said it. He said it perfectly. Couldn't have said it no better. But Ant said he don't want it. Obviously I didn't ask for it. But I knew there was a responsibility for me, not only to my family, my friends, my community, and whoever that was going to follow my journey throughout my career. Not only in Ohio when I started there, but all over America and all over the world when I traveled all over the world. So I've always taken that seriously and understood from the beginning what being a professional was all about and being a role model was all about. So try to hold that with the utmost respect and honor. And but I feel I understand. I completely understand. This is weird energy when it comes to that.
So some very candid remarks there by LeBron James. And it almost felt like if I was the media in there, I'd be like, bro, you talking to me? Like, I'd be like deleting tweets and deleting columns. What was he saying? Because look, I mean, you got to give LeBron James a lot of credit. I mean, he didn't just realize the hype, he surpassed the hype, but more so, he has embraced being the face of the league. And the truth is that becoming the face of the league happens organically. And it starts with being the best player of your generation. From Magic to Jordan to LeBron. Those are faces of the league, and it's tough to become a new face of a league while the current face is currently playing. And as far as I'm concerned, the Anthony Edwards, the Victor Wembanyama, the Luka Doncic being the face of the league, that's all after LeBron James hangs them up. Because yes, LeBron James might not win MVP again in his career, but he's playing at a first or second team All-NBA level at age 40. And the truth of the matter is even when it comes out that it's going to be his final season, he's going to be hanging him up, there's going to be renewed interest in LeBron because you're going to be giving him his flowers every game, just like we gave Kobe in his last season. And he's still going to be that face of the league. Now, as far as is it important to have a face of the league? Is the media kind of too hard on NBA players? I think the media kind of has gotten to the point where, yeah, you're kind of, it's less about player analysis. It's less about kind of presenting the facts about how effective and great players are and just kind of looking for additional storylines that play up on social media. I mean, topics on this show and things like that. But I do think that LeBron makes a really good point in that the weight of being the face of the league is a lot. And LeBron, there was a point where he was a little more sensitive than he is now. Now he can take anything. But when he was on his way up, someone who didn't go to college, someone that was in Cleveland, and he goes to Miami, that everyone says that, oh, he put together this super team and that he had the chosen one tattooed on him and he kind of asked for all this. Look, LeBron just wanted to go out there and be the best player that he could. Got to give him credit. Now, Colin Cowherd said yesterday there's only been 3 faces of the league, and it goes from Magic to Jordan and LeBron. I think I kind of agree with that. I mean, Kobe was never really the face of the league. Kobe was a great player that had a lot of mystique, but after everything that happened with his legal issues, you didn't see him on a ton of commercials because Kobe did not want to get back in commercials. He had a lot of vindictive kind of narratives that he was trying to follow up with. So I think that's fine. As far as the future face of the league, could Wemby be the face of the league? Maybe. He's in San Antonio. He's a big man. What do all the faces of the league have in common? They're not big men. They're guards. They're point guards. They're guys that have the ball in their hands, that are shooting jumpers kind of to win games. Wemby, I think, can be the best player in the league. Is he the face of the league that you sell your whole product behind? No. Zion, not going to happen. Unfortunately, just not going to happen. The career derailed by injuries to an extent, keeping his body in shape. Kind of, I have this whole do you love basketball thing with Zion. Shea, OKC, same situation. Dude from Canada, don't see it. Jason Tatum doesn't have the, quote, aura, as Noel would say. So as far as the future face of the league, I don't think we know who it is yet. I think it's going to happen naturally. I don't even know if he's in the league right now. I really don't. But I think that it could be a collection of stars until, I mean, after Jordan retired, it was really Shaq and the Lakers. But then you had Iverson, you had Vince Carter, you had Tracy McGrady. It was a collection of stars. And then it looked like it was going to be Kobe, and then it became LeBron for a long time. So I actually don't think the face of the league is here right now.
That's a really good point. Just on the topic, since it was like LeBron reacting to Anthony Edwards' comments, I will say as a big Anthony Edwards fan, I was a little disappointed during that interview. I know that his coach came out and said that just because he wasn't claiming it in that moment, that doesn't mean that if the time comes, he won't rightfully accept it. But I think Ant has kind of painted himself as a guy that really isn't scared of any challenge, isn't scared of any matchup, isn't scared of any narrative. He just wants to hoop. And he said he's trying to learn how to be more of a leader this season, so he doesn't want all the spotlight on him. But I was a little disappointed that he shot it down so quickly. I think him and John Morant, they have the personality and they kind of have the aura, in your words, Doug, that can actually take the throne in that sense. Maybe not the market, maybe not the numbers or accomplishments just yet, but they have the attitude behind them that a younger audience is going to tune in, and that an older audience is kind of going to look at them like, who are these kids coming in thinking they can just take it? They kind of withdraw those words. So I was a little disappointed that he didn't.
I mean, I think really, if I had to pick one person who has the best chance, I think it is Luka Doncic. Yeah. And the simple fact that he's turning 26, he plays for the Lakers. And I think if everything works out for Luka from a numbers, I mean, 5 All-NBA teams. I mean, he's got the hardware to back it up. To be the face of the league, I think your ceiling has to be, can you go down as a top 10 player in the NBA? In NBA history, can you go down one of those guys? I think Anthony Edwards, he to me falls in the category of like a Allen Iverson, like a Russell Westbrook, a player that has a cult following because they are who they are and they're unapologetic. I love Ant, bro. He drops F-bombs, says whatever the heck he wants, wears the fitted hats with the tank tops. I mean, I'm all in on Anthony Edwards, but the face of the league is like, I'm buttoned up. People forget LeBron James with the Cavs and the Heat, he was buttoned up. You know, LeBron now in the shop talking crazy stuff. He was very, very buttoned up. Michael Jordan, Mr. Corporate, big time Steve Harvey suits, Magic Johnson with his smile. I mean, to be the face of the league, you almost kind of, I don't want to say have to hide your personality, but you have to kind of play both sides. But J-Rob, I know you got some thoughts on this.
Well, I got one thing I'll say. I can't see the NBA pushing a non-American, and I know that's going to ruffle some feathers. I think the future faces of the NBA are coming in this next draft. I think the NBA is going to put a lot of stock behind Cooper Flagg and Dylan Harper to be the next face of the NBA, especially Cooper Flagg. I think he has that potential to be that next one. Ultimately, when it comes to this face of the league thing, though, Doug, I feel like it's not appealing anymore to try to be the face of the league. I mean, ultimately, we live in a world of NBA media right now where I think we push more agendas and conspiracy than we are doing analysis. And the reality is, even today, Brian Windhorst pretty much told LeBron's feelings about being the face of the league, saying he didn't want it. He shot it down and said, of course he wanted it. He wore number 23 and signed a $90 million contract with Nike. Well, just because you idolized Michael Jordan growing up and wanted to wear his number, that doesn't make you wanted to be him. You probably want to be your own LeBron James. The other issue I have with it is, Doug, LeBron James, when he was 9 years old, he was living at his football coach's house while his mom was on welfare. he grew up in legitimate poverty in a single parent household. Any 18-year-old is signing a $90 million contract and not thinking twice about it. Like, people forget, LeBron's mom took a loan out for him to get a car, banking on him to be an NBA player. So I feel like it's not appealing anymore. And we talk about it, Anthony Edwards. Why are we comparing him to Jordan in his third year in the NBA? Because he wears a band? Because he's braggadocious, because he's confident?
He kind of
doesn't make sense.
Hey, you squint your eyes a little bit. You're like, it kind of looks like him, plays like him. He plays in the air. Yeah, you know what I mean? I mean, I see it. I get what you're saying for sure. You know, I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying.
I don't think it's fair. You know what I'm saying? Because this is my other part. Doug, you compare him to Michael Jordan now. If he collapses in a Western Conference Finals or a Finals, you're going to hear, well, Jordan would never do that and this and that. And it's like, why are you comparing him to Jordan for his failures? But you guys are the ones who compared him to him. And I think these unfair expectations and the way the media is covering certain players, I just think it's unappealing. I really feel like some players look at that face of the NBA thing, and I don't think they look towards it as something like they want. Like, they're okay. Like the LaMelo Balls, he has that iconic cult-like following, but I don't think he would want to be the face of the NBA just because of how people
and that's actually why I think that the idea of being the face of the NBA is different in 2025, because like you said, players control their own brands now more than they ever have. You can have a lot of niche following. You can have LaMelo Ball has his cult. The Cooper Flags have his cult. I mean, everyone has their group of fans. But I do think that at the end of the day, if you want to be the face of the league, you got to play on the biggest stage and win championships. So it's, hey, who's the player that has a lot of charisma, that's winning MVPs, that's winning championships? I think that Luka, don't underestimate the power of the Los Angeles Lakers brand. I mean, you look at the team that they could put around Luka and the success, he could be the face. But to me, it's just like, I don't even look. You know it when you see it. You know it when you see it, and it'll feel right when it comes around. And I think if I'm a player out there, I do disagree with LeBron that I wouldn't want it, because I think I would want it, because if it was labeled on me, it means I'm a great player, winning MVPs and championships. No one's going to say, oh, this guy's the face of the league. That's the 8th seed getting bounced in the first round, right? No one called T-Mac the face of the league, right? Yeah. You only start to have the conversation when you start winning. And look, there's a lot of personality. I mean, look, good looking dudes, big dudes. I mean, Magic smile, Jordan's mystique, LeBron, right?
Yeah,
he had the smoke. I mean, so we'll see. But
scares me though, man. I'm scared.
Yeah, no, it's tough. This generation, you got to protect yourself. But that's why, like Anthony Edwards, he literally gives zero. You know what?
I mean, he told the president to stand down. I'm the truth. You know what I'm saying?
It was crazy.
When LeBron, that was crazy.
By the way, just a quick update. Anthony Edwards has been suspended for the Timberwolves' next game against the Jazz. Got his 16th technical of the season last night against the Lakers. You even had the Crypto.com crowd booing out there. I mean, look, you look at the play again. He was shoving him. He did slip. I mean, I just want to see him and Vando go out a little more, and it was fun to see. I mean, you wonder why people get upset about the NBA's product. Look, if that's the only game of the year you're going to see, that's the only game of the year you're going to see, that is a disappointment. And have you heard the Ewing theory?
That the Knicks.
No, not that one. That's a good theory too. No, that's a conspiracy theory. Yeah. That's a conspiracy theory. Yeah. The Ewing theory is that when a player loses their best player, somehow that team starts playing better because everyone around them thinks, okay, he's gone, I'm gonna get mine now, right? You know what I mean? Like, if I'm an LA Fitness dude, I want to get picked up by like the worst team and just get my 20 shots up, go 3 for 26. You know what I'm saying? And that was kind of the case last night. Edwards went out. The Timberwolves kind of made a run a little bit, but still, I think this is kind of a frustrating year for Minnesota. They're still kind of right there in the 8th seed. He's kind of putting up his numbers, but Noah, I'm just curious to ask you, I mean, what do you make of the post-Cat version of Anthony Edwards?
I mean, definitely a very interesting player now. Like you said, on multiple occasions, he's fought back at the critics saying that he's shooting too many threes now. I think not having Cat, he doesn't have that exact number 2 guy that he could go to. Julius Randle was supposed to be someone like a Naz Reid that could help him actually put the ball on the floor and not just be like a really tall shooting guard, which a lot of people saw Cat as. But I mean, you see what Cat's doing over in New York. Dude's having the best season of his career. He has that team looking like one of the contenders out there. So
After all that,
We're not a contender, Noel. We can't beat good teams.
I mean, that's a question. That's a question for that video. But
I thought you played for Connecticut in Tennessee State. You played for the Knicks too?
I mean, I'm always going to be a Knicks fan. I'm a LeBron fan, and I'm a Knicks fan.
And he's a Thunder fan.
I am a Thunder fan. But on top of Anthony Edwards, I think he still has a lot of growing pains to grow through. He's still super young, 23 years old. He's still figuring out how to be that guy and how to maximize the rest of
I think this could be good for him. I'm not comparing Karl Anthony Towns to Shaquille O'Neal, but when Shaq left, Kobe added more weight, was like, hey, if we're going to even be in games, I got to drop a 40-50 piece.
Yeah.
I got to learn how to facilitate. I think that this next couple of years are crucial for Anthony Edwards' growth, where if he learns to play without less talent, when he does, hopefully for his sake, get some more talent, he'll be better because of it. So I'm hoping that's the case. I just, Anthony Edwards, you guys know, I think I said something crazy last year about Anthony Edwards, and I kind of changed my tune, but it's because if I hear someone in the same sense of MJ, I kind of freak out. But staying in the association, we're going to talk about the Golden State Warriors, because I hope that you guys know I keep 100 with you guys. And when I feel like I'm wrong, I want you to know on the show, I'm going to give myself an L. Okay, and I'm going to take an L on saying that Jimmy Butler was not going to be a major difference maker on whichever team he was traded to. That certainly has not been the case. Jimmy Butler has absolutely just re-energized, given the Warriors the shot in the arm they needed. He's just breathed new life into Golden State. They're 7-1 since the trade. Yesterday, Steph Curry was incredible, by the way. 56 for Steph. That February 27th energy. You guys know about the February 27th energy? February 27th against the Knicks, 2013, 54 points, 11 made three-pointers. Then February 27, 2016, 46 points, 12 three-pointers. That was they still have a timeout. Bang! Against the Thunder. And then yesterday, 56 points on 12 made three-pointers. Just absolute incredible stuff from Steph Curry last night. And the Warriors are winning games. The Warriors win 121-115 over the Magic. 56 points on 16 of 25 shooting for Steph Curry, 12 from 19 from the three, 12 for 12 from the charity stripe. And just a month ago, this Warriors team looked like they were dead in the water. They looked like they were clinging for anything to have Steph Curry get another chance at the playoffs. Draymond Green doing his podcast with the gray beard. People were thinking that he couldn't do anything to help a team in the playoffs. They trade for a disgruntled Jimmy Butler, who gets out of an ugly divorce in Miami. They've gone 7-1 in their last 8 games. They're up to the 7th spot in the Western Conference, tied with the Timberwolves. They're a half game back of the Clippers. And it's not just, they're winning games against bad teams. No, he's having a major impact on their offense and their defense. From December 1st to January 31st, the Warriors were bottom 5 in offensive rating. Since Jimmy Butler was acquired on February 8th, the Warriors have a 122.2 offensive rating. They're third in net rating at 15.9. Butler can slash. He can get to the rim. He's okay with playing without the ball. And over his last 8 games, it's not just Jimmy Butler who's starting to be more active and starting to see his numbers normalize. Steph Curry is putting up those MVP Curry numbers again. Last 8 games, the chef is cooking with his new Butler. 31 points per game for Steph Curry. And I think Jimmy Butler is cool in the sense that it's not, he's 25-11. No. 11 points in his last game. 19 minutes, right? As a Warrior, he's averaging 16, 6, and 6. Won't blow your mind. What doesn't show up, though, is the basketball IQ. It's making things easier. It's being able to buy in on the defensive side. And I just think with a core of Curry, Butler, and Draymond Green, it's almost like they're a little bit of the Lakers light in the sense that they're that team with a all-time great that added another all-star that you don't want to play in the playoffs. Any of these young teams do not want to go against these veterans in a half-court style of play in the playoffs. So, hey, I'm here to take the L, guys. I'm here to take the L. I was wrong about Jimmy Butler and how much he could impact his next team.
I'm going to be honest. I'm not moved.
You're not moved?
I'm not moved, not in the slightest. And this is, again, Doug, NBA propaganda. I've never seen a team that was a 10 seed, now a 7 seed, and everybody's talking about them as potentially a contender for a championship. Look, the Warriors, I like the move for Jimmy Butler. When we first talked about this, I said it would be a good fit because he can play off the ball. He does a lot of different things well, but they haven't. The schedule over their 5-game winning streak, they're not playing anybody. And coming in their next upcoming games, I can give you their next 5. They're playing the 76ers, who we just talked about is going to be tanking. We're talking about the Hornets. They play the Knicks, who they'll probably lose to. The Nets, they might lose to the Pistons. The Trailblazers, Kings, and then they play the Knicks again. They were in a hell game the other night against the Magic, and I feel like because they have this new feel, it feels a bit euphoric, like something we know. And I love Jimmy Butler. Shout out to his agent, Bernie. That's my guy. But ultimately, I think we need to pump the brakes. I want to see it in the playoffs. And I know this is going to sound crazy, but I do think one of these young teams can knock off the Warriors. I don't think the Warriors want to play the Houston Rockets, these young, hungry Houston Rockets. I don't think they want to play an Oklahoma City Thunder team. I'm just not completely sold that this team is as reinvigorated as we're trying to sell, because ultimately, I think when they have to play the meat and potatoes, the best of the Western Conference, I think they're a first-round exit.
Look, that could be true. At the end of the day, though, if I was a young team out there, last thing I want to see is babyface assassin with nothing to prove. I mean, just going out there, shooting logo threes on you, Draymond Green, who is not afraid to throw a bow on you, and Jimmy Butler, who's willing to get physical too. And it's not just that 3-2. Kuminga is continuing to get better. I think you look like they're not just like a big 3 in a big drop. I mean, Buddy Hield has played better since the addition. So look, I mean, Golden State, it's a team that has a championship pedigree, a championship culture, and for them, it's going to come down to how fresh can you keep Curry, how much can you integrate Jimmy Butler. But Jimmy Butler, hey, you talked all that talk about wanting to get back to playing basketball again. They were willing to give you that new deal. There's really a lot less tomorrows than there's a lot less tomorrows for them, right? I mean, that's just the truth. They have to kind of look at these next few years as, hey, this is it. This is our last dance. And I just never thought that. I will say, too, it's kind of perfect for Golden State because the honeymoon phase with Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green, if they were together for like 10 years, they'd literally murder each other. Like, let's be honest. It wouldn't be a fight. It wouldn't be a Jordan Poole punch in the face. People would get stabbed, right? Or headlocks, they would get ugly. But the fact that it's like 2-3 years, right? You can extend that honeymoon phase. And it's kind of like one of those things like, dude, like we're grown men. Yeah. Like those are 2 grown men that are going to just show respect to each other. I would like to see them. I think I would take Jimmy Butler in that fight. By the way, Jimmy Butler
I think it'll be good. I mean, I think it might just be a draw. I think they would.
Draymond looks like one of those guys who like, I don't know, the limbs, like you're right. I don't know.
Like
he's like awkward.
Give up, though. Like they would just tire themselves out. Neither would want to give up.
Draymond will fight dirty too. You'd like.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
he had like a box cutter in his pocket and starts
got a weapon when you
chew on your ankles, bite your kneecaps off.
I think they're just 2 dogs, man. Two flat out dogs.
All right, last topic today: Travis Hunter. We talked about this earlier on the #1 Dodgers podcast and show on YouTube, Dodgers Dugout Live. I remember Noel Sanchez from that as well. And J-Rob made an appearance on it. Well, Travis, first of all, I actually want to say I hope I didn't jump the gun on this because I didn't even do the backstory to make sure he actually said this. So I'm hoping that he actually did. I didn't get centelled or faxed on this, but it says that Travis Hunter said that Shohei Ohtani, about him, Ohtani is a great player, but you got to do a lot in football. So he's not necessarily saying right there that, hey, I'm better than Shohei Ohtani. He's just saying you have to do a lot in football. I've been thinking about this more. I will say that if you put Shohei Ohtani at tight end, I think he's a red zone threat. If you put Shohei Ohtani under center, I think he might give you 250 yards and 3 tutties. If you put Travis Hunter in the box 100 times against Shohei Ohtani, he's striking out 100 times. If you put him on the mound guys are teeing off on him or he's throwing balls or that. The truth of the matter is that a cornerback and a receiver are much closer in skill set than a pitcher and a hitter. That's like two different sports. There's a reason why Deion Sanders, his mentor, Coach Prime, said the hardest thing to do in sports is to hit that little 97, 98, 99, 100 mile per hour fastball that looks like a tic-tac when it's coming towards you. So first and foremost, too, I want to say, Travis Hunter, before you even open your mouth on this, let me see you do it at the pro level like Shohei Ohtani has done at an MVP level. And then even then, I think the only way that Travis Hunter could enter this conversation would be if he was playing quarterback at an elite MVP level and he was, I don't know, an elite running back and handing the ball off to himself and running for a 90-yard touchdown. It's tough to even find the football equivalent to what Shohei Ohtani does in baseball. There's, I think, a handful of guys that can do what Travis Hunter does. There's one guy in the universe that can do what Shohei Ohtani does.
Doug, this is such an underestimation of what Travis Hunter is doing. Now, granted, the skill it takes to pitch and hit a baseball, I will never argue that. I do feel like it is harder skill-wise to hit a baseball and to throw breaking balls and pitch. I don't disagree with that. But the physical toll it takes to play 100 snaps every football game you participate in, it's not realistic what Travis Hunter has done because, Doug, I promise you, if what Travis Hunter did was easily replicable, a lot of other players would have done it. Deion Sanders would have done much more in college than the two-way he played because he played in spurts as a two-way player. Charles Woodson would have did more. Jabril Peppers would have did more. Ultimately, Travis Hunter is a one-on-one. He is the same type of anomaly that Shohei Ohtani is. And I feel like, you know, the DN crew kind of cooked me today. Got called a clown a few times for feeling like this.
I've been called that a lot.
It was a little OD. I was like, guys, chill out, you know? But regardless, Shohei Ohtani is a freak, but Travis Hunter is also a freak. And I think the one part that I have with your analysis on this is because you said the positions are mirrored. And I understand the point you were trying to make from the standpoint of athletic, fast, twitchy, quick guys play corner and wide receiver. However, the amount of ball control, concentration that it takes to play wide receiver, the technique, the hips, to being able to read offenses, to play corner. There's so much more mental, physically like mental things you have to do on the fly to play football than you do when you play baseball. I think a lot of things you play baseball is built off the reaction because you're reacting to a pitch, you're throwing as physical, but the mental aspect of having to play 100 snaps while also having to do it on both sides of the football, I think it's ridiculously difficult. And I think what both of them do is remarkable. They're both anomalies. But the idea, and this is why my only issue with some of the chat was to go out there and act like what Travis Hunter was doing was, oh, he's doing this against college kids. And, well, if it's just college kids, why didn't a bunch of other five-star recruits do it? Why didn't other number one, number two players in the country do it? They're both anomalies, and I think if you want to say it's even, I'm fine with that, but I'm not willing to say one is more difficult than the other.
Let me ask you a question.
The physical toll on Travis is much more than the physical toll on Shohei.
So let me ask you a question. What is the most important position in football?
On defense, I could argue corner.
No, what's if you're going to say what's the most important position in football? Quarterback, exactly. Mm-hmm. What's the most important position in baseball? It's pitcher.
Pitcher, yes.
He plays the most important position. If Travis Hunter played the most important position, I would say maybe. And yeah, the physical toll is the physical toll. Sure, athleticism. I mean, the guy can run for days, zero body fat, sure. But it's the skill. I mean, come on, man. Shohei Ohtani is on a whole nother level. Noel, what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, both of them are insanely talented.
Exactly. That's the most.
I think if I were Travis, I just wouldn't have answered the question. I think
that's the beautiful
thing. No matter what, like obviously, like you made a great point, J-Rob, that even if people are saying like he's doing against college athletes, why don't other top recruits do this? He should wait until he's proving that he could do this in the NFL at a high level on both sides before he says something like that. Just him saying like Ohtani's a great player, but football's a whole different thing. Like I see what both of them do, and I think it's tough to compare both sports, even though people do it all the time.
Yeah.
I just think he should have just said like, Ohtani's a great player. Let me wait. Let me do this NFL, then we'll talk. I think if he does this at a high level for 5-6 years, the way we've seen Shohei become a two-way superstar, then the conversation can be had. The conversation can be had.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
No, never. Never.
Yeah.
That's going to do it for this episode of The Big Lead. Thank you for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe to the show, hit the notification bell, hit the like button. Really, really appreciate all the new subscribers, all the new viewers of the show. It's going to be an awesome journey here. Lots of interviews. All the topics in the world of sports, you're going to find it right here. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. And until next time, I'm out.